Surely this is the week that Tim Hyde has the Angeli card, right? Tim, you don't have it. Tim doesn't. Folks, Mike Singer and Tim Hyde live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Appreciate you all for watching live, watching back, listen to the podcast version of this week's Notre Dame football show, Pod Like a Champion. Please hit the thumbs up on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel for more content. We're going to be talking some Notre Dame quarterback stuff. We got mock draft. We got transfer portal discussion, a ton to discuss. Tim, the haircut looks good. How's everything on your end, my friend?
Oh, everything's going great. I'm always trying to think, how everything's rolling. Got spring going. It's 70 degrees up here. It's gorgeous. Then you're like, yeah, you got quarterback transfer news. Young quarterbacks are finally going to play at Notre Dame for the first time. Feels like forever. Catholics just had obviously Easter. Christians, you got, we're going to have a conclave. Not that that's celebrating a pope dying, but it's like QB, Catholic Church, all coming together. What a great week during Easter, right, Mike? You just throw it all in a blender and here you go.
There you go. I was cracking up reading the chat before we started the show. Mark with glasses says Singer refuses to believe it's true. Ryan said, is Singer going to be wearing black tonight? So there's a few other ones that had me cracking up. But we will start the show because, last week I said, I'm paraphrasing that, and I know I'm going to get flamed for this because some people maybe forgot that I said this last week. So maybe I should just keep my mouth shut, but yeah, whatever. I get flamed anyways. I said, and if I had to guess right now, it would be Steve to be QB1. And of course, a few days later, he hits the portal. So I want to discuss several things about this. Tim can chime in, and then we will move on from there. So I jotted down some things. Usually Tim and I just totally wing this, but I did jot down some things. This is very unlike me, but I did want to make sure that I got some points across about the whole Steve Angeli hitting the transfer portal situation. First, when this news happened, and just scrolling Twitter, I would say about 75, 80, 85% was very positive. Thanking Steve for his contributions to Notre Dame, sticking around, getting his degree, helping Notre Dame beat Penn State, all of those things. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to see. Notre Dame fans, bloggers, everyone in between. For the most part, it was very overwhelmingly positive. I thought that was pretty cool. There is a lot of things that I do feel about this topic and things I've heard that I can't share, or at least not now. But one thing I do feel very confident in saying is that Steve was planning to go deep into this battle. Like Steve would have gone to August, like fighting this out, duking this out with, one or two of the other quarterbacks. So I want to be careful with how much I say on this, but this move was initiated by Notre Dame. And I'm kind of glad, from thinking about Steve Angeli's standpoint, that the Band-Aid was just ripped off now. If Marcus Freeman and company did not plan on starting CJ Carr at all, then it's better to rip this thing off now than it's August. And hey, Steve, you're not the guy. You have 2 years of eligibility left. You have dreams of playing professionally. You're stuck here. So I'm from the Steve point of view, I am glad that the Band-Aid was ripped off. What was it, April 17th or 18th, whatever it was, than in 4 months from now. I did think that Steve was going to be the starter, not for a few different reasons, partly because, of what I was hearing behind the scenes, other part being Freeman being a defensive head coach, think he might go a little bit more conservative with the more seasoned quarterback. I'm not going to say experienced, because I do agree with a lot of you guys who are saying, yeah, well, what is that experience? I'll say seasoned because he had been in the program for so long. But I think things fell apart due to, I think, like Steve didn't have the commanding spring that's maybe going into it we thought he might have. And then, some other circumstances, just other things that, may not have been going in his direction. So am I surprised by this news? I would say no. In the grand scheme of it, But in the moment, like that day, there was really no indication leading up to it that, like, yeah, I mean, I heard rumors and stuff, but like you hear all sorts of rumors. There's also rumors, oh man, maybe Kenny's going to leave now. There's all sorts of them, but leading up to it, Steve's plan again was fully to take this battle deep into the into fall camp. And then scrapping up here, Tim, he is being projected to end up at Syracuse, which is certainly fascinating. And I think that's a really good spot for him. It's closer to home. He's playing in the ACC. Like, I know Steve did not want to go play like, FCS ball, obviously. Like Tulane, I don't think was probably a big interest for him. Like, Steve wanted to play at a power conference, and it's going to be Syracuse at Notre Dame November 22nd. Look, Steve hasn't committed there yet. I know, the Orange brought in Ricky Collins. I remember when Notre Dame was looking at him a few years ago. So is there a quarterback battle there, or does Steve the guy? Like, I don't know. But that's certainly an interesting storyline. And my last thought, I think everyone comes out a winner here. Steve doesn't get stuck at Notre Dame. Like, he was never going to be QB2 at Notre Dame. It was QB1 or gone. So Steve gets to, get a fresh start. You would presume he'll be QB1, and then Notre Dame gets to move forward with CJ Carr and Kenny Minchey. So that's my ramble of 5 minutes or something. Steve was, you talk to people close to the program. It sucks. Like, everyone loves Steve around the program, but Notre Dame going in a different direction, Tim.
Yeah, I feel like I could take this in about 16 different spots, but no, I mean, I think a lot for me. I think a lot of it started to change when you heard about the Jersey scrimmage, and obviously a lot of that was the backup O line. All three quarterbacks having to play with the O line during the blue and gold game. Basically, you had the whole O line was back outside of Ashton Craig, but Auding and Apsher playing the center, just waiting on Craig, but everyone else was back, so that was great to see. And then I remember when we talked that week, one of my big notes was people are like, oh, the Jersey scrimmage, who gives a darn? We were missing this guy, that guy. I took it the opposite way as a coach. Like, okay, well, what if Wagner's not playing, Billy Schroff's not playing? Who do you want at quarterback to cause havoc with their legs, with their arms, so to speak? I think, going back to a more athletic type of a quarterback. That's what they had success with last week. It's what they had success with, obviously, with Mike Denbrock over his years. Not so much it's a dual threat, but it's just that ability take off and run for a first down when you need be. The old Ian Book factor, who was outstanding doing that for Notre Dame over those years. So I think a lot of that was there. The blue and gold game, I remember, when we talked after the game on our show, to me, it was just obvious, just basic QB one-on-one play, I felt, of just athlete processing information, getting the ball out, just QB skills on display. CJ Carr had it and Kenny Minchey had it. Not that Steve doesn't, but he's third. And I know we talked before spring ball even started. Like, I was never a fan of three quarterbacks. I don't know how the hell they did it, because at the end of the day,
ideal. They did not.
No, because at the end of the day, as I've said, 2/3 of spring football you're watching. How the hell do you get better watching? So I've never understood that as a coach. And when I played way back in the Stone Age, it's like you get better when you play. But they did a 3-quarterback monster. So, I mean, even your grades you're getting, it's only on 1/3 of the snaps, which is odd, how you're not getting more. But that's what they went with, which goes back to January. In January, their mindset goes, it was probably Steve. He's played in some games. He's got the experience. We'll let see what happens with the other two. And then obviously they were going to stay because they wanted to give a shot, because they probably felt in their mind, hell, I'm better than Steve Angeli. So
sure.
The experience thing, I know that's been said so much.
Seasoned.
Yeah,
it's a better term.
I've heard the word experienced 1,000 times, but so being the boring guy I am, I went and did the numbers. The Sun Bowl was the Sun Bowl through 19 passes. 88% of his passes at Notre Dame the last 2 years have been in the fourth quarter when you're up 42-7. The only pass he's ever thrown in the first half of a game is the Penn State one because Riley got hurt. He obviously had a fake punt pass. Outside of that, like I said, almost 90% of his passes have been blowouts. So, because he was the number 2, and I know I said this in the past and you didn't like it and others didn't like it. I always felt he was the number 2 by default because of injuries and where he placed on the pecking order. But that also goes back to the rebuilding. I think we'll talk about this down the road during this little summer period of, you and I have heard from some people out there that don't, Marcus Freeman doesn't have a plan at the quarterback. We've heard that, from some out there. And when you look back, I think he has had a plan. I think he knew he didn't have quarterbacks to give the ball to and say, be my guy. And that's why he had to go to the portal. I'm talking about quarterbacks on campus that he personally recruited. Even his first year, for crying out loud, the portal, he got hired in December of 21. The portal's not what it is now.
Right. It wasn't right.
Had he got hired in December of 23 and Buckner and Pine were his 2 quarterbacks, he's going to the portal.
Yeah. So
I think that first year he was kind of stuck where he was. He wasn't going to sit back, develop with those guys for the next few years, right? So he went Hartman, went Riley. Steve's always sitting there in the background. Is he waiting for Kenny CJ to take over? Or to your point, which is very, very true, Steve is there, but Steve didn't take it.
He didn't.
Steve's going into year 4, and Steve is like, with the experience, with the number 2 reps, the practice reps, all, everything over a 3-year period. And it sounds like he just didn't take it. And had he taken it, we're obviously having a different conversation today.
Yeah. Even if it's Tim, like going into spring, Steve started up here and Kenny and CJ were here, not just a talent factor, but all the different intangibles that coming with playing a quarterback. If they evened out, if it's all things are even, like we talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, Tim, it's like, if things are even, do you lean experience or do you lean playing the young guy? I think it's a philosophy thing. And Notre Dame went with, let's go with the young guys.
Same with offensive tackle. Look at tackle with Baker, who's been around. People forget, I know Wagner beat out Baker, but, Jagasaw, Wagner, Baker, they all had a battle for that spring bowl to start 2 spots. So Baker beat out Wagner initially. And then obviously during spring last year, Wagner replaced him. Jagasaw established himself. But even going into camp, we were all stunned with Anthony Knapp. We had heard about Knapp during the spring, early part.
Tim, Joe Rudolph said Baker would be the guy.
Baker. Exactly.
Like he said it.
And then that week, boom, they went with the young guy because it's probably, to your point, equal. They're like, hell, I got 4 years with this guy. Take him.
And Baker's experience, garbage time and a couple starts, right?
Yeah. The one true. Yeah, a couple starts in 21. You're right. You're right. Geez. Yeah, that's when Joe Alt came.
So similar.
And Andrew Grimo just posted perfect examples. Adon Schuler. Everybody. No one was talking about Adon Schuler, right? It was Rod Hurd. Wait till he's back, and then Schuler was just like, "No, I'm taking this damn thing, and it's mine." So yeah, another perfect example of playing the young guy over, someone with 1 year, but. No, and then going back, I haven't been on Twitter in a couple hours, been running around with my head chopped off here in town, running some errands in Syracuse. So that's going to be interesting. So I knew the Tennessee, I'll be honest with you, Mike, I saw people talking Tennessee. I was like, there's no way in hell. You can't play in that offense. That offense is a completely different animal for what Steve has and his skills.
Syracuse is a good fit, though.
And I saw some other things mentioned, and hey, just hearing of this news, Syracuse is solid. They're a middle of the road, Power 4 program. They have some, had some good years like they did last year. They had a really good season in 18 when Notre Dame beat them, but I think when Notre Dame beat them, they were 11 or 12 when they beat them that was a Shamrock game in 18 in the Yankee Stadium. So you know what? They have some solid seasons at times. Back to hell, I'm just thinking of this now. had Angeli, let's say he's the quarterback this year. Had he been the quarterback there and committed there, we would never have known who Steve Angeli was. So I don't know if I'm not trying to take that as a negative or a dig at him, but he's probably going to a good, good solid program for his skill sets and what he could do. So, but you're right, they got Ricky Collins, who's the LSU guy, the last backup. So, wow, I didn't even think about that. So, and Collins, because I've been spot shadowing some of the teams they're playing in spring, and I know because Brown's been in the news, the head coach, because he wanted to do the spring scrimmage with Dion and saw some of his stuff. But he named Collins the starter just a week or two ago. Obviously, I mean, hell, who the hell knows in college football? But
isn't that wild?
But he called him the leader of our team going into 2025. So, how's that? Is there going to be a QB battle there? That's going to be interesting. This whole thing's crazy. You got quarterbacks. You got the Tennessee guy. Now his brother's coming back. I saw last night. So
UCLA's quarterback's going to Tennessee. It's just always something.
It's quarterback recruiting, right? We spend so much time talking about it, and it's like 90% of it's thrown out the door now.
Well, but
just real quick. I mean, there was a lot of positive said about Steve. A little over the top, but that's just my humble opinion. It's not like they're losing Montana here. But hell, we'll find out, right, when he comes to town. If he's
just a nod. It's he's just a very likable guy. It's just a tip of the cap. I think that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. And wish him well. Good luck, Syracuse. And I hope the Notre Dame defense sacks him about 8-9 times, and they're going to just swarm the living hell out of him. And I can't wait to see that.
They're going to bring the house on.
They're going to bring the house.
Oh,
because he's not scrambling away from Traore and Snead. So, and I think they play in 26. So if Angeli wants to play 2 years, enjoy that D. Oh my God, come on! It's senior game. The guys are going to be licking their chops at Notre Dame playing Steve. They're going to be rooting for Steve to beat out Ricky Collins. A little Phil Jerkovic part 2 come into South Bend.
Yeah, I was thinking about Phil's return, and man, I don't think.
But I don't think Steve will be tweeting or. Remember the Instagram or the right?
It
the
was
post
very weird.
The cryptic stuff. So, but it's going to be fun, man. God, he had to think of that, Mike. I mean, seriously, right?
What are you talking about? Steve, and it's senior day.
No, I'm just talking about picking Syracuse.
Yeah. I mean, you have to look at that schedule, and that's got to be a bonus that you could go back and from everything I've gathered about the kid, he's calm, cool, and collected, but he's very, very competitive. So I'm sure that he's thinking you guys made the wrong choice. So, and we'll see. We'll see.
It's like the old quote, Mike Tyson, right? Everyone has a plan until you're hit in the mouth. So
we'll see.
He could be competitive as high hell until Snead and those guys storm him. But hey, that's a long way away. That's a long way. My God, man. That's Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's a long way away.
It is. And I'm sure a lot of the Steve Angeli merch has been discounted at Augie's Locker. Hey, Jeremiah Love replica jersey signed. Go Irish with the name. $265. Folks, go over to augieslockerroom.com shop, or if you're local, you're coming through town, whatever the case may be, go into Augie's. I know Mark with glasses was just at Augie's. He texted me a picture. He was there. So Mark, you'll have to let us know in the chat what you thought about Augie's Locker Room. It's definitely the place to be. If you've never been there as a Notre Dame fan, what the heck are you doing? Go over there and check it out. They have exclusive Joe Montana side items, famous sculptor Jerry McKenna's replicas of the bronze statues around the stadium, and then you also have the wide selection of Notre Dame stadium pieces, jerseys, helmets, autographs, and one-of-a-kind Rockney items. They got awesome stuff in the store. And then you can scroll the online shop as well. Give Auggie a call, 574-277-6363, or visit augieslockerroom.com. For people saying, Singer, it's okay, you're going to be all right, like Singer's down in the dumps. Guys, I'm okay. I promise. I started doing this thing where I take the night shift for my daughter so my wife can sleep longer. So I'm starting to adjust to that. So I'm a little I don't have as high energy as I usually do, but guys, I promise I'm okay. Thank you. It's like, Tim, my phone blows up when Steve, that Penn State drive, my phone blew up, and then my phone blew up on Thursday. It's like my birthday, or I get more texts when Steve Angeli does something than I do on my own birthday. It's just but it's over. I was just ready for 3 quarterbacks to be done. Let's go to 2. So let's talk about it, Tim. What do you think this looks like moving forward? What do you want it to look like moving forward as Notre Dame heads into a period now later this month and into May where the coaches hit the road and the guys are finishing up the class and you go into summer, conditioning, working out with the guys, and then into fall camp. You got Kenny Minchey, the 6'2", 206-pound sophomore from Hendersonville, Tennessee. And then, of course, CJ Carr from Saline, Michigan, 6'3", 209. Minchey, of course, sophomore now, going into his junior year, and Carr going into his sophomore year. So thoughts now about this quarterback battle now that it's down to 2.
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. I'll be very honest with you. Very exciting. It's I mean, I think it's 2 damn good quarterbacks. I keep going back. I've rewatched Kenny. I forgot. Kenny was injured his senior year, so I've gone back and rewatched his his senior film, which is fun. People just Google Kenny Minchey huddle, and you'll see his senior film. And there's a couple plays on there we saw in the spring game. A couple of his boots, his rollouts, throwing on the run. He's damn good, man. And it's going back to when he committed. How excited we were just watching him as an athlete, his ball skills, touch passes, attacking down the field on his scrambles. One of his strengths is going back to his junior film and senior film when he's out on the move. His eyes are always looking downfield to attack. So he's damn good quarterback, and I know we've talked for 2 years about, portal quarterbacks with Riley and Hartman.
I love this throw.
And then obviously, look at that throw. It's a dime on the run, boom. And then, obviously CJ with the height. I mean, Notre Dame hasn't had a big time quarterback like CJ Carr really since, obviously Gunnar Kiel, but he left after a year. So I'm just talking guys that played, and that's going back to the video you posted and pissed half the world off and the other half liked it. He's a lot like Jimmy Clausen, and it's just true. Kenny Minchey's got.
Wait, hold on.
I mean, their minds on that.
Tim, so with the software that we used to do our shows, they have this new thing where it's like an AI clipping tool. So we finish a show, it generates like 8 videos. 7 of the 8 are usually terrible. Then 1 of the 8 is like, ooh, I can use that. And then it'll come up with tense. It doesn't know how to spell Minchey's name. So that's why I put like video over it and stuff. So Tim, I tweeted that, and that one did kind of go viral where you were talking about Notre Dame hasn't had a quarterback since Carr or since Clausen and Quinn.
I know.
The wording I'm messing up, but let's go to there, Tim. But as we're watching Mint, I want to hear your thoughts about that. And you can follow up on it, but more on Minchey here.
Yeah, no, I mean Minchey's. I mean, going back to, like I said, I've gone back, before spring ball, I went and rewatched his film because he was going to get a shot. He's in there. And then when you hear the reports of, from Horka and Jack and, obviously Kyle Kelly's was at the practices and at the Jersey scrimmage, they're like, damn, Kenny's coming along. Well, Kenny was not some just random guy who just showed up on a, turnip truck. He was an Elite 11 quarterback. Mm-hmm. You go back and read about him back then. Hell, he won the pro day at the Elite 11, the entire combine. They put all the quarterback skills together, and he won the thing. So he had some big time offers. He was going to Pitt. Why was he going to Pitt? Because they had just had Kenny Pickett, and they had just gone to a BCS game. So, and then obviously Notre Dame was going all in on Donkey Moore and kept the comparisons going with, the talking with Kenny, what Reese was doing. So the guy could throw, he could run. he was a big time quarterback, in high school, and Tennessee offered him. I was reading some stuff on him, and look at that throw. Quick dump, bam, accurate over the middle. A lot of skills. The same thing with Carr. I think you're going to get two comparable quarterbacks that could throw the ball and have some really good accuracy.
Yeah. Comment here from Andrew.
There you go.
Minchey supporters are acting like there's a narrative against Kenny. There isn't. I think he's needed time to get comfortable in the offense. He's comfortable now and he's making plays. Yeah, there's definitely some truth to what you're saying.
Without a doubt.
I think that for a while, like Notre Dame didn't even know what they had in Kenny. Like this is not someone that this wasn't like an early pot of gold day offer. So Notre Dame flipped him in this. It was at November if he's in the 23 class. So November 22, they flipped him from
First
Pitt.
season.
They offered him in July. Kenny turned Notre Dame down. And then Minchey just kind of fell into Notre Dame's lap. Like Pitt wasn't having a great season. And then like Reese and the staff were just kind of hit him up every week. Like, hey, Kenny, hope you're doing well. Like just checking in. And then one week Minchey was like, all right, like I'm in, let's do this. And he visited and Notre Dame just kind of got lucky with Kenny Minchey. I'm going to call it luck. Like it might not be the best term, but he did just kind of fall into their laps. Otherwise I haven't said this in a while, Tim, but Notre Dame was looking to flip a UCLA baseball commit who had like no other football offers. Like it was pretty disastrous there for a little while.
Yeah, I was going to say you mentioned that 2 months ago. I think when spring started, and I forgot all about that. I mean, we literally talked about that on his show, for crying out loud.
They were going to bring him in for an OV, and it was like, and the kid was like interesting, but like I think he was a kid in Arizona or something, but it was they were trying to flip the Oregon State quarterback, and I think he ended up going to Michigan State with Johnson Smith. But Minchey's just a great quarterback to fall into their laps. But anyways, I'm kind of getting off track.
No, but real quick.
Well, let me spit out a couple thoughts, and then we'll go to you, Tim. But like, I do think this spring he really emerged. I think a lot clicked with Kenny. And the Minchey supporters acting like there's a narrative against Kenny. I think it's just people who love Minchey's film and they're all about Minchey. They just are upset when other people aren't like that. But no, I think it's definitely like I was someone who gave Minchey slim to no chance going into this thing. After the spring game, I did a video with Jack Sobel, and I was like, man, like, I think this is, and that's still when I thought that Steve was the leading candidate, although my confidence in that trimmed down a ton after the spring ball and just kind of seeing the game and hearing things behind the scenes. But Minchey definitely rose up a lot. I think he had a really good spring, and we're going to talk about a topic with him in a little bit, Tim, but there's definitely a lot of reason to be excited about him. Like there's still some things he's got to work on and clean up in terms of just reading defenses and a lot of quarterbacking nuance, but in terms of just natural talent, like he's got it in spades.
Yeah, well, I mentioned it on our last show a week ago, giving props to Gino. People, they're like, well, we're going to see what type of coach Gino is now, but I think we've seen that. We've seen the improvement, his first spring, remember he was coming off a shoulder injury, right? And so he was kind of limited, threw a little bit, but we really didn't see him last year. It was obviously Riley was hurt, but Steve, and then the hype was on CJ. So yes, Minchey's always been, and I don't want to use the word afterthought, but it was, it's kind of, he's there. But when you go back and you rewatch his film and you learn, you reread his commitment, the dude's a damn good quarterback.
Yeah.
He's one of the top quarterbacks to come to Notre Dame in the last decade. When you look at his recruiting and his accolades. So he's very, very talented. And the Tim Hyde philosophy on football is let guys develop, check back with me in year 3. And he's the ultimate year 3. Now, historically, the great Notre Dame quarterbacks, they've all shown up as sophomores. And that, to me, as a longtime Notre Dame guy, that's why I've always gotten excited with CJ Carr is it's that year 2. And so many great ones have shown up in year 2, have been multi-year starters. And that's what gets me excited when I watch him. So it's never nothing against Kenny. Kenny's super talented. I've been saying for the last week, I think they're both needed because they're young. They haven't played. So there's going to be moments. It's almost like 2012 that Reese had experience. This year is two guys with no experience. So are there going to be moments in a game in this season when someone's got to go to the bathroom and hey, take 2 series off, relax. So we're going to play this guy.
That's why I think that I didn't. I'm glad you touched on that, like, because you do have guys with no experience, which is partly why I thought they may go with Steve to be like, all right, we know if we don't start Steve, he's going to leave. So what if we just start him and play him? And if it don't go great, we can bench him. Tim, I know you didn't like that, but I'm just telling you that was very much the discussed thing. I know you don't like it, but I'm telling you, Tim, it was the thing. That thought process was very much discussed. But
because it worked in 18 for both Clemson and Notre Dame. Obviously, Wimbush started, Book takes over. Kelly Bryant starts at Clemson, Trevor Lawrence takes over. There's many quarterbacks, that have gone and done that. So it happens. I mean, Quinn did it as a freshman, where eventually they just said, "You're the guy, take it, go take your lumps, get your head kicked in, and we'll see you." And obviously Quinn ends up being a first-round pick. So, yeah, it happens. I didn't like it just because I think Kenny and CJ have more talent, and I just want to see that talent and just let them go play.
Yeah.
Because going back just 10 seconds on this, going back to, my earlier point where, some out there in the Notre Dame sphere of, it's Freeman, what's he doing at quarterback? I think Freeman had to build a team, correct? That's what I'm starting to look at with the players that he's bringing in. I feel like he had to build a team. He wasn't panicked at quarterback. Let's get everything else around him, see what takes place now. Now we're in year 4. They're stacked, man. They got 2 deep everywhere. So now it's a quarterback. Now we got better players around you. Here's the ball. Go make mistakes, but we have damn good guys around you. So
yeah, Tim, I feel like December, January, we had a conversation about the 24 roster versus the 25. Or maybe it was with Ghouls. I can't remember who I was talking about it with, but like, this roster deeper than the championship run team. And you lose Morrison and Watts, and it's like Schuler and Moore?
And Cross and Mills. No, and
Cross Mills. It's like, dude, that D line is going to be very good. Patelho and Traore come back and they're fully healthy and ready to go, no setbacks, and they're able to play like they did before they were injured. Like, this D line, the interior, I think like Anye is really coming along. Donnie Heinisch here, really good things about the O line's got a chance. Receiver room, we'll see, but I don't know, Tim. Like, if one of these 2 quarterbacks hits and they're like, "Ooh, this is the best quarterback we've had since," like, "Oh, this guy," we're talking about a really special team here. You're very excited right now as a Notre Dame fan. And I know you are.
Yes, I mean, you should be. Talent all over the place. Obviously, me and freaking wide receiver, for crying out loud. But man, on paper and at least watching the bodies, you feel like they got some guys they could toss the ball to and just go make some plays. Once again, spring game. When I watch spring game, I'm just watching athletes run around, having fun. And then when it's a game, you could literally picture them scheming Will Pauling open on the slot, Greathouse open on, for, what he did in the playoff run. Faison, we know Faison's talented times 10. So they're going to get the ball to him. Fields is a monster. You just got to go watch. I mean, there's a couple full game breakdowns. He had like 3 monster games in the ACC, and they're all on YouTube. Go watch. He's a combo of Boykin Claypool. Notre Dame hasn't had a guy like that. So now he's going to be manning that whole boundary, by himself. And fingers crossed, one of the young guys could give him a rest, meaning Micah Gilbert, Cam Williams out of that sophomore class. So it's exciting, but you're right, man. The damn quarterback. But I think these guys' skill sets, the talent that both have, and you're trusting an old gray hair, an offensive coordinator who's been around the block.
Yeah. Someone just made that comment too. If Parker's the OC, go with Angeli. Denbrock is confidence, go young. Yeah, I think that's Andrew Gilmar's always with a good point.
Yeah, I mean, because Denbrock's gone through. Exactly, Denbrock's gone through. Obviously the Desmond Ritter experience, and then at Notre Dame they had Kaiser. Everyone, it's been well documented. DeShone Kizer was like, if it was transfer portal era in 2015, he's gone. He was that bad in the spring. He was like atrocious in the spring game. He could have left and no one would have gave a damn. Instead, he's the main quarterback on a Fiesta Bowl run with Denbrock playing a redshirt freshman who is, sitting there with the ball cap on. And it's like, here you go. You're the guy now. Because Golson transferred, Zaire got hurt. Kizer was nowhere. He was not even expected to even, be the holder on PAT. And he's taken the team to the, BCS game. So he's been through it. I think that experience is going to pay off.
Folks, watch on YouTube, watching live, watch it back. Please, please, please hit the thumbs up on this video. And if you're new here, Tim and I talk football every week. Notre Dame recruiting, what's going on, we react to national news. And I still wanted to do a segment on the Nico thing, but I feel like the news is kind of past. Yeah, we got other things to discuss that are a little bit more important. But yeah, we do this every week, except for next week. Tim's off. So I'll probably fill in. We'll do something. Maybe I'll get Horka and Jack on or something. And tomorrow at 5, we got the Six Pack Show. That's becoming a fan favorite. I'll host it with Sobel and Horka. And then Thursday this week for the recruiting show, because I'm planning to take off Friday. And then, no show next week with Tim. And then we'll be back the following week with the handsome Tim Hyde. So when Notre Dame has had quarterback battles in years past, I'm just thinking back to the past few years, and it's like quarterback battles, like, all right, Jack Cohn comes in, we know he's going to be the guy, that kind of thing. It's usually around mid-August, Tim. Do you think that, like, hey, duke it out for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then let's name a starter and let's roll?
Yeah, duke it out for whatever you got to do. You have 2, so just let them practice, let them keep playing. These guys are already going into summer ball knowing, someone's got to take the first snap. So if they had to play this weekend, I'm sure they know who is going to get the ball this weekend. So just let them keep developing. They're both young. Carr could play for 4 years. Kenny could play for 3 years. Let these guys keep going. But you are right. It's eventually, you have to know, but with these guys being, 1A, 1B, and Blake Hebert basically being a true number 3 on this roster, you can let Kenny CJ really take 50-50 for a while.
Oh, they will. Yes.
Exactly. Just keep feeding them reps, get ready. And then the game plan, Denbrock's going to be game planning starting next weekend. So he'll be up and running by Augie's camp of having a foundation on what he wants for Miami. And the great thing about Miami, it's a Sunday night game. It's going to be a mini Super Bowl because you have a bye week. So they could go guns a-blazing into, Dade County down there, do whatever you got to do to beat the hated Hurricanes and go beat them and start off 1-0. So, long way around, and just let them battle that 10-day period. And they may go longer than what they've done in the past. When they announced Cone, Buckner, obviously Hartman and Riley, we knew. So, they may go a little bit longer this year just because there's probably not a big urgency to announce one,
Yeah.
And you don't need to let the Hurricanes know so early. Yet the press is going to be hounding Freeman like crazy in August, so he'll be ready.
Yeah, he's done this a time or two. I'm pumped. Again, I look, you guys know I love Steve. From going out to Jersey 3 times to see him as a recruit, but there is a little bit of like, man, I'm just excited to see these 2 young guys duke it out. Like from a media perspective, Tim, and what we do, this is as exciting as it gets. A true sophomore and a true junior. Notre Dame goes into a road contest. What's Miami's preseason outlook ranking, Tim? Like top 15, top 20, something like that?
I would say that because they're going to have Beck, obviously
on the road.
A big name on the road. So
with 0 starts, it's so much fun. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. And I know, Tim, that you feel like CJ Carr is going to start. Can you confirm that with me, Tim? Do you feel like CJ? You feel like CJ Carr is the guy? Can you just give me a?
I don't want to say that and make people angry out there in the world, but
obviously, Tim thinks it's CJ.
So he's so talented.
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
know?
I'm not ready. I don't know.
Well,
This could be
Kenny's talented
interesting.
as well. That's why I keep saying you go
I've
back
heard
and
good
watch both of these
things.
guys. Both
I've
of
heard
these guys could do it.
some people think it's going to be Kenny that I've talked. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in any camp here, right? You got Tim's in the CJ camp. Obviously, Goolsby, which I know Goolsby tweeted out. Like Carr might be the better guy right now. You can go to Goolsby's Twitter and find that tweet. But like obviously, Goolsby loves Kenny, so I'm Switzerland on this one. I really like both quarterbacks, and
Yes.
they're a ton of fun. But let me ask you this, Tim: are you opposed to some kind of system where Minchey has like a package where they like play him, like not call it a 2 quarterback thing, but whether it's third and shorts or hey, here and there. I don't know, Tim. Is that a crazy idea? Do you hate that as a coach? Could you see Notre Dame doing that with these two guys?
I don't see it with these two because I think these guys are pro style type of quarterbacks that you could do.
They're similar.
Yeah, I mean, you could go on the run. Minchey Carr not going to run QB power like Riley did. Hopefully they're better at quarterback sneaks than Sam Hartman was against Ohio State if they need that. But
yeah, but just to I don't know, like, is this an era where to keep QB2 happy, you got to play him a little bit? I mean, we haven't really seen that, but I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas.
when I say both are needed, my take on that is it's a long season. There's going to be moments someone is just going to need a break. They're going to get hit. They're going to get winded. Something's going to happen to them. And I think with these two guys being very similar with their passing skills, their downfield presence when they look to throw the football, they're both really good running bootlegs, RPOs, the waggles where they get out on the perimeter. So I think Denbrock could run the same offense with both of these guys. So I don't think there's a Tyler Buckner package, if we want to use that term, or even an Ian Book package, like what Ian had when he was playing in 17 in the early part of 18, where he would come in and do certain things. I don't think you need that. Just play the quarterback, and if CJ goes out there and throws 3 picks and stinks, or if Kenny's out there and he looks like Brandon Wimbush against Miami, and if it's in 2017, benches butt. So I think you got 2 quarterbacks, and I just have this weird feeling they're both going to be needed this year.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're both going to have moments of, hey, you got to lead us. You got to do it. So-and-so struggling. It's your time. And that's going back to the 2012 season where Reese would replace, obviously, Golson when he needed a break. Yeah. And we've seen that over the years. Zaire started to do that for Everett Golson in 2014. So with some of that. And we haven't seen it in a while because it's just been Riley, Hartman. Obviously, Buckner got injured. Cone was pretty much the guy, and then they had a package for Buckner.
Yeah,
prep him, and then it was
Buckner's just such an athlete, though. Like,
yeah, they had to get him on the field to test him to see if he is the guy, and then obviously Book was the guy.
Well, I would say it was even more to test him. They needed juice from Buckner. Sometimes the Cone experiment would just not work, and they needed, like that Virginia Tech game. Cone couldn't get anything going. They played Buckner the entire game, then they put Cone back in to win the game. Like that was one crazy game. Arnold Lane says that Texas played Manning in certain packages, but I mean, that's Arch Manning. Like he's might be the best quarterback college football this year, top 5 guy. Like so it's like might not be best apples to might be apples to oranges, but it's a fair point. And I do want to throw this out there, Tim. This was my cover line. Start the car. Believe it or not, I thought this was an awesome cover, and I really like the green on gold. I think that this is sharp. I hope we see this in a Shamrock series. The all greens, the green on gold looks great.
Well, last year was Louisville green on white. Okay.
Yeah, it was green on white. Yep.
No, that's nice. Mine hasn't arrived in the mail yet, but I do like the cover. It is a sharp looking cover.
You're gonna frame that one too.
Yeah, if they win a damn title, I will. Sure, if they go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I'm telling you, man. I know I say Pop-Tarts Bowl all the time. If they're you and I are going to do a show from the Pop-Tarts Bowl one year. So, who's ever the quarterback, I'll get it signed.
Tex ND said we'll definitely lose whoever's not the starter. Just don't think so. I mean, both of these guys are going to go into August. You going to leave in August? What are you going to do?
They're not going nowhere. They're not going nowhere.
Both of these
They're
guys
the
have
quarterbacks
redshirted.
this year because you got to have two quarterbacks ready. So these are the two quarterbacks going into 2025. Let them play and see what happens from there. If Kenny ends up just being the guy starting for 9 games after CJ, or CJ vice versa, however it is, and come December one leaves, fine. Then you got the guy who sticks, Blake Hebert, and Grubbs coming in. And there's your 3-man's constant cycle moving forward.
All right, one more quarterback thing, 45 minutes in. Herrick said, got to bring in Buckner for 4-string duties. The guy's been around Notre Dame. Buckner committed to Notre Dame before I started on this beat 6 years ago, and we still can't spell the freaking kid's last name right. Are we, Herrick? Are we kidding me? It's not just you, Herrick. But anyways, 4-string duties. Tim, I think, look, Buckner, you're as a receiver, hasn't done anything, right? Special teams gadget guy, let him keep doing that. Signal in the plays. You guys remember this time last year, I was telling you that was Buckner's job, is to signal in plays. That's what he did last year during the football season, right? Bring him to the quarterback room. I think you have to. If crap hits the fan, you have to go to 3. Blake Hebert, you might be good. Not as a true freshman. Let's not try that. Dude, play Buckner. Get Buckner back in the quarterback room. I think that you should. I think that Buckner should go back to the quarterback room. He's not really doing anything as a receiver. He can keep signaling calls in. He can keep doing special teams gadget stuff. But why not get him in that room? He's been around forever, right? He's got tons of experience, right? He's an older guy now. Are you with me, Tim? I think that Buckner is a very good quarterback? I don't, but you can play him if crap hits the fan and CJ and Kenny, knock on wood, can't play. You could do worse than Buckner for your 3rd quarterback. Heck, that's probably be better than most 3rd quarterbacks around the country. Tyler Buckner, who started a game in Ohio Stadium.
No, you're right. I mean, he's got 3 starts at Notre Dame. He's got a bowl game MVP. He's got a start at Alabama. You're right. He's got the most experience, But yeah, I mean, if you're playing your 3rd or 4th quarterback this year, then you're going to a Holiday Bowl. So there you go. So it's just reality. If you're down that low, no matter how stacked the rest of the team is, you're not gonna be that good if you're playing number 3 or 4. Let's just be brutally honest. But
I'm looking at this over Hebert. Are you hot? What the hell is Hebert? What? He's a true freshman. Love Blake. Blake, if you're watching, Blake's family, love you. You're a true freshman. Okay? You're not going to get any reps.
Doesn't matter.
In August, you're not going to get a single first-team rep. How this isn't a video game where you just look at 87 overall, 82 overall, 73. Okay, just stick in 73 and he knows exactly what he's doing. No, it's not. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. No, I am not high. I am completely in my right mind. People saying no on Buckner. What is he providing to you in the receiver room? Nothing. He could provide something in the quarterback room. I think I read, Tim, that he's been helpful, like mentoring some of the young quarterbacks. I think I read that or heard that somewhere. Did you see that, Tim?
Hey, he's played more quarterback than anyone on this roster combined. So, I mean, he has starts. So it's not a bad thing. If he has to play, the season's gone haywire anyway. So
yeah, but they still have to win games. They still have to win games. And this guy has not been the biggest Buckner advocate at all. I really was not one.
Run the Wildcat for 4 quarters and go beat Syracuse and Angeli if that's what they have to do.
Yeah. So, anyways, 49 minutes in, Tim. I did not plan to talk quarterbacks the entire show, but here we are.
That's okay.
NFL.com did a mock draft. I am not a big NFL draft guy. I admit it. Don't really pay attention to it. But I did an article, this morning, aggregating the NFL.com mock draft. Tim, what happened to Ben Morrison being a first-round pick? Was it just the injury? He slid out of the Tim, this mock draft has him going in the 3rd, high in the third round, but it's the third round. What happened to Ben Morrison's draft? I understand the injury. But third round? I thought he was going to be like a top 15 pick.
Well, that's why mock drafts are meaningless. They are. I mean, I used to love getting some of the old guys who know, Dr. Z, Paul Zimmerman's, mock draft that he would do in Sports Illustrated back in the heyday. Those were like fun. But nowadays, I mean, there's everyone and their mother, just throws them out there. But third round, I guess it could be injury. His film is solid as could be. So someone's going to get a steal. I'll be honest with you. I haven't really paid attention to, because Notre Dame's going to have a bunch of second, third round guys and late round guys. So they really don't have anyone shooting up the draft boards this year. So they'll probably have 5, 6 guys. And that's if Riley Leonard gets drafted.
Yeah.
So, right. I mean, who are the guys?
All right, let's look at this. So they have X Watts going in the middle of the second round to my Miami Dolphins. I would love that. X Watts.
What is this? This is like is this someone's mock draft or
NFL.com? NFL.com's mock
gotcha,
draft. They did a 7-round mock draft, which how much did Chat GPT help this guy put that together? I mean, goodness gracious. So Xavier Watts going in the middle of the second. Ben Morrison going early in the third, which, I mean, I don't know. I think he should go in the second, but what do I know? Mitch Evans going down to the 5th round, Carolina Panthers. And then the Colts drafting Riley Leonard in the 7th round. And then they got Riley Mills going near the end of the draft to the Saints. So that would be 5, which would be solid. I think last year they had 7 drafted in the year. The 2 years before that, a total of 5 between. It was 2 and 3. So 12 in 2 years would be a really solid number. So we'll see, but that there still could be like
Kaiser's. I've seen Kaiser in some mocks. He's the wild card. Cross is like nowhere to be found. He's going to be a free agent.
Cross, Kaiser, and Oben are the other hopefuls that I would say. Like, did the Notre Dame draft or the pro day? Like, I would say they're hopefuls. But yeah, Cross. Yeah. I mean,
what size? He's not your. The D tackles in the NFL are monsters unless you're Aaron Donald. Kaiser, though, Kaiser's combine was excellent. Pro day was excellent. All his testing was excellent. Great film, a leader. He was on the academic All-American, finalist for the academic Heisman with the Campbell Award. He's going to be one of those, all these NFL guys, all they ever talk about is culture, yet they all want freaking talent. But Kaiser's going to be one of those locker room glue guys. I could see Kaiser definitely getting drafted late round just to be like, he's going to play special teams and he's never going to do anything against the team in his 4-year first contract. So bring him on. He'll bust his butt for us. So I'm pulling for 6. I've even seen Bo Collins, who had great numbers, got a lot of film at Clemson and Notre Dame, 2 high-end pro. Is he a 7th round pick? I've seen in a handful. Just
shit, Bo.
So we'll see.
Your shit, Bo.
I'm always rooting for the most, just so they stay ahead of SC forever. I always like those things this time of year where they put out the graphics. And I'm like, come on, Irish, keep going against SC. And because I don't know how many SC has this year going to get drafted. So Notre Dame should start building a nice little lead against those, those pesky Trojans and keep that going. So that's me. That's the side, what I give a damn about the draft is just graphics to stay ahead of SC and Michigan and all those guys.
Yeah, to send us some recruits so they can see it. Tim, do you think that Notre Dame should add anyone in the transfer portal? There's been kind of rumors here and there, like Notre Dame's name was even floated around with Nico Iamaleava for a minute, which was interesting. Yeah. Are there any positions you would like to see them add in the transfer portal?
Well, I mean, the biggie is just, if you got to look at the weakest position, it's got to be tight end. Just looking at numbers, unless. Eli's in his last year, which stinks that, he played just 1 game more, I think, right? Or whatever it was in his freshman year. So this is it. He's gone. Kevin Bauman's gone. The Arkansas guy's got 2 years.
Yep.
But
So that's why they brought him in to kind of
we
bolster.
really don't know much about him. Is Larson? Is he going to be a guy? I have no idea. Cooper's out. People keep talking about Flanagan. I'll be brutally honest with you. I saw pictures of him at the spring game. He looks like he weighs 210. I'm sure he weighs more than that, but he is skinny as a rail. So I'm not if he plays this year, I owe everyone a pizza, okay? Because he just looks skinny, extremely, extremely skinny. So I don't know how he's getting on that field. When Cooper Flanagan showed up, which you talked about, I remember you said you heard some some birdies in the wind talking about him as a true freshman, and he played in every damn game moving forward. It's Cooper's got muscles and would knock the hell out of you coming from De La Salle. Flanagan, I think he's a red shirt, and we'll see you down the road. That's my take.
Yeah.
Just skinny. It's like, man, you need some beef at tight end. So that was it. If there's some older guys in the portal, I'm just not sure. I haven't paid attention to it, but
so
that's one position. Other than that, they're pretty solid. You could say corner, which might sound weird, because you really only have two. Hobbs is your third, and then it's freshman, right?
Hobbs is looking more like a nickel every day, though.
Exactly. So who's that third corner? Is it going to be freshman unless they found a?
I think it might be a freshman, dude. Cree had a great spring, and then you got two blue chippers coming in.
That's going with some young guys at corner if something happens. So that's all. I just always looked at corner just for experience. If you could find a Jordan Clark, if you could find a guy out there looking to play 1 year, bring some experience in that.
Yeah.
And that's it. Everywhere else, you're looking pretty solid. D line. The key, the key D line is obviously just Traore and Botello. If they're healthy, they got bodies again.
Yeah, right? That's basically your transfer, right? That's like your new addition.
Exactly. They got numbers. Logan Thomas, obviously young, Burnham, Tulialamaka. You got numbers. So that's going back, man. It's a pretty damn good football team Notre Dame has. Just corner's a little scary. If they, who the hell is that number 3? And then just tight end. Because if he it's Raritan and then a bunch of who knows.
Yeah, the corner is interesting. Yeah, like Chance Tucker, he can't really. Are we really going to ask Chance Tucker to be a guy? Like, we haven't seen him like ever, and he's a class of 2021 player. How many class of 2021 guys are even left on the team? Smith looks like a nickel. Like, maybe Hobbs could play outside, and then you're counting on true freshmen. So I think corner is an interesting shout. Tight end though, you're really only playing one at a time. Like, Notre Dame's not doing as much 12 as they used to. So Raritan, Bauman, get Ty Washington, or going when he gets there in August. Like, if he's a guy, then you don't need to bring in anyone. And then
I agree.
Larson, I think, can play, man. Like, I think he can play. He's just very role dependent. Like, he's a role player. Like, we've been saying that since he was a recruit.
Yeah, he's one of those hip motion type tight ends.
He's just not your true tight end.
Line, hand down in the ground, gonna block the hell out of you. So
Flanagan will be that, but maybe not yet. To your point, but you don't think receiver? They were mentioned with the BYU recruit. Notre Dame at least said hello to him, or the BYU transfer. Yeah, I think it was a transfer from BYU. But you don't think receiver?
Well, always if there's some dude out there and you got a few extra bucks for, sure.
Well, that goes for pretty much every position. But.
Exactly. But it's not like it's a major need. Like, oh, man, we need another this, we need another that.
I mean, they just got three from the, or is it two?
Even that linebacker, if one of the linebackers, if one of the backup linebackers, just like, Othbury, Sneed, I'm just throwing them out. Just two guys that been around the block, been here. They're like, I'm going to go to so-and-so because I could play, even though they're in the mix at Notre Dame, for crying out loud. But even their linebacker, you still got a couple of young guys that are grooming. So it's a damn good little football team, man. That it's going to make a run as long as they find a guy that could sling the rock around, right? It really is.
Comes down to the quarterback. Tim, I want to throw something at you. We're about to hit an hour, but I want to do this because I'll probably forget it for next week. There are hold on. Let me find it real quick. Give me a second. Most overall wins since 2014. The college football playoff area, right?
Yeah.
Who's the top 5? And then where do you think Notre Dame is in the top
Oh, they're up
10?
there.
Where do you think? So I'm curious for your top 5. This is off the top of your head, right? Who's in the top 5? And then where does Notre Dame rank in the top 10?
Yeah, Notre Dame's up there, even with the, we don't talk about the 2016 season, but I mean, obviously it's Alabama, Ohio State. You got to say Georgia, right?
Yep.
Georgia, is that the big
So
3
hold on.
right there?
Alabama's 1, Ohio State's 3, Georgia's 4.
So 2's Clemson.
2 is Clemson.
2's Clemson. Dabo keeps rocking. So okay, so there's the top 4. So number
So there's
5.
the top 4.
Oh, LSU.
LSU's not even in the top 10, Tim.
Are you well, they must. Well, hell, they fired Les Miles back then. Yeah, I keep thinking they had more than 2019 seasons. My God, who is number 5? Oh God, Boise State. Boise's always hovering around.
Is in the 7, Tim.
Okay, all right, because Boise's always just hanging out there.
They win 10 every year. Yeah,
every year hovering. Oh my God, what an absolute. Well, we know it's not Michigan because they had some horrible years.
Michigan is in the 9.
Yeah.
Well, Tim.
It's got to be Notre Dame then.
It is Notre Dame. Notre Dame has the 5th. Okay. So it's awesome. Yeah. So Alabama 136, Clemson 129, tied. Sorry, I did not notice that at first. So Clemson, Ohio State tied for 2nd, then Georgia, and then there's a little bit of a drop off to Notre Dame at 109, and then OU 108, Boise 106, Oregon 103. The team in Ann Arbor 102, and then Penn State 101. I thought this was really interesting when I saw this on Twitter yesterday. Like Notre Dame, this consistent winner, man.
Very consistent. So that's 14 where they're top 5, and then they melted down. 15's a BCS team. 2016, Mike, my God, thank God we didn't have a show. 4-8. I went 7 of the 8 losses. Or was it 6 out? I think 7 out of the 8 were single digits. They just couldn't win a damn thing that year. It was brutal. But you're right. And then you go 17. From 17 to 2024, it's been 10 plus wins every year. But Freeman's first year, which
the
9, every other year is double digits. So.
Yeah, and then it helps when you go on a playoff run or you win. Records in college football, I feel like, are just kind of out the window now. It's just not really.
Yeah, put that fair. Up real quick. So put that up again real quick. So you got Bama with titles, Clemson, Ohio State, obviously Georgia with a couple.
Notre Dame's the highest with that one.
Yeah, Michigan's got their one. Once that thing gets yanked. You got Oregon made the finals in 14, but Oregon hasn't been to the playoffs, have they, since? I don't think they've been
except for this year.
Yeah, I know. God, I still got the 14 playoff in my head, for crying out loud. And see, this 12-team thing's going to screw everything up because everyone's going to be claiming too much crap. But 4-team or nothing, right? But Penn State, yeah, and there's freaking Boise always hovering around, getting their little 10 wins, staying in the group. Oklahoma is going to drop because those dudes, man, it's funny. Just 10 seconds, man. When they decided to go to the SEC, I was like, what are you doing?
I agree.
You could be kings of the mountain in the Big 12 from here until eternity and just own everything. You're in the playoffs, meaning you're going to collect money times 10, just constantly being awesome. Dude, they were going to fight their asses off to get 8 wins in that conference every year. Yeah. Seriously. I don't know.
I understand like Missouri going. It's like, all right, you're not you're a fine team in the Big 12, but all right, go to the SEC, and now you're an SEC program. But like, it was probably just a matter of time for to go to the SEC because all the conferences merging, and no one wants to be in the Big 12 right now. But you make a good point.
Bad. I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, they're doing whatever. It's Oklahoma. They got no academic standards. They could do whatever. Someone's going to figure it out one of these years. But good Lord, they had it made forever. I don't think, they're going to be on the outside looking in for a while. So, yeah, I need to, next week I'm off. We definitely got to set up a plan. I'm going to map out a thing. Love to do our
Penn State rewatch?
Oh my
Is that
God.
what you were going to say?
Oh my
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, try and do our stupid, maybe we do our way too early playoffs.
Ooh.
Figure that out.
Wait till, some dog days of May and July. June will probably be a heavy recruiting month
We're just throwing darts
for
against the wall.
us.
Yep.
But Tim, I really want to do that Penn State rewatch show where we do like it might be like a 4 or 5 hour show. We'll have to, Tim, you send your wife and kids out of town. I'll send my wife and child out of town, and we'll just take a night and let's just rewatch the Penn State game. And we'll of course be pausing it and chit chatting and the Angeli drive. I'll be 8 beers deep at that point, and I'll just be crying and with happiness, and we'll rewatch it 15 times. But Tim, we rewatch the Penn State game on stream. I'll just have to figure out how I can do it without ABC or ESPN, coming for my car. Yeah. Coming after my house. But I think that would be fun, Tim. We have to do that.
Well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, because there's going to be some dog days. We're going to get bored out of our minds talking about Carr and Minchey every damn day until Miami. So yeah, you're right. You're right. We got to figure out something, have some fun.
Rewatch the most iconic Notre Dame win in 30 years. Like that was it. That Penn State game was the most. Yeah, I mean Georgia, but to me it's Penn State. But that was just such a fun game.
Yeah, it's because Penn State was a comeback. Obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Georgia is like. I watched Georgia real quick. I watched Georgia right above me is here at my mother-in-law's boathouse. She has a loft. And it's 4 stories high here, and I kid you not, Mike. I must have burned 6 to 12 pounds that night going up and down. I was nervous as hell, especially because that's that game was 3-3 for crying out loud. It was 3-3 with 40 seconds left. I've seen people on the message board and Twitter. Oh, Notre Dame dominated that game, dude. It was 3-3 with 40 seconds to go. That game was flipping coins, nervous as hell, and then the transfers paid off. In 1 minute of football, and Notre Dame survived, got through that thing. When Georgia scored, it was like, 21-10? I was like, oh, crap, here comes these guys. And Notre Dame, obviously the great drive, the fake punt, or the punt that got him to jump off sides.
Yep.
That's iconic, epic. But you're something about the Orange Bowl, and for us old farts who just despise Joe Pa and Penn State, dude, nothing like beating those guys in the Orange Bowl and James Franklin.
Was that a vintage Georgia team? No, but that was the best Penn State team in a while. Like that was that was a good team. Those 2 running backs are studs. The tight end's incredible. Drew Aller's got a ton of talent. You say what you want about him, and I was there. I guess that's probably part of it. I wasn't at the Sugar Bowl. But one more thing, Tim, and now the show's over. It's just 2 guys just catching up and chit-chatting. I have the same opinion about you, like as the Georgia game. And I remember some national talking heads would tweet out like, well, what if you took away this? What if you took away the Oben sack and the Harrison fumble or the Harrison kickoff return? And Notre Dame fans just torch these people. And the response is, it's like, well, what if you took away, like it's a ridiculous thing. But Notre Dame had done nothing and I've talked about this before, Tim. Notre Dame had done jack shit in the kickoff return game all season, and RJ Oben had done jack shit getting after the passer and creating havoc all season. And Harrison takes one back, and Oben gets a strip sack, and Notre Dame scores. 14-point swing like that.
Tell you, man, the Georgia game was wild. It was wild. I mean, I talked about it on the game as we're sitting here ranting, but it's like Notre Dame, I mean, they had the second fewest yards in the playoff era from 14 to now. The second fewest yards from a team. They couldn't do anything. Getting 3 yards against that defense was like getting 8 against other teams. It was but it was awesome. Old school football, just knocking the hell out of each other. Georgia's defense was legit, and Notre Dame just played an ounce more of energy, and they did. I mean, they earned that win. They gutted out that fourth quarter, that drive. I mean, that drive, the biggest run is the Riley Leonard where he does the backflip, lands on his head. Great win. But to get in the Final Four, I mean, I've coached for a while, and it's like I've lost in the semis. It sucks. I've won a championship. I've lost in the finals. I'm telling you, losing in the Final Four is the worst because you're right there. So for Notre Dame to come back and get over the hump and get to the title game, and against Penn State, people haven't been around that weren't part of that. That was a great rivalry for many, many, many years until Penn State obviously bailed and went to the Big Ten. But yeah, Joe Pa hated Penn State or Notre Dame. Notre Dame hates Joe Pa. Even to this day, we think Penn State's Joe Pa. So that was a great win. James Franklin, the way he talked around Marcus Freeman, the reports of Freeman going back to the locker room raising hell because the players are like, man, we've never seen Freeman like that. It's like, what happened? Guys didn't even know at the press conference when they were talking to players. And then once they found out what happened, they're like, oh, hell no. So getting treated like a little kid he was, and Notre Dame playing that fourth quarter. Hell of a win, man. Yeah, if there's a way for us to sit here with the fellas, hang out one night and do that, man, that's fun as hell.
Yeah, you'll get paid from it, Tim, but the video won't make any money because it'll be copyrighted. So I'll just have to figure it out. And then I'm not trying to discount the Georgia win or anything like that, but it was just like and like Notre Dame made those plays happen, but like you don't say fluke on those two things, but just highly improbable plays that Notre Dame made to turn the tide of the game, because that was an ugly first half. And then those two things happened, and Notre Dame and then beats them by 10 points. That was awesome. That's
playoff era, man, where there's always, in a playoff era, when you make a run, there's always going to be moments, but I think Notre Dame fans are always going to remember, obviously, it's going to be the Penn State game. It just is. You're right. The Orange Bowl, the semifinals. I mean, my God. I mean, they felt like they were. It did. I mean, before they got that field goal drive, that game felt like it was 24-0 at halftime. It was over. And then Notre Dame found a way. They took the lead. Penn State takes the lead. Greathouse, with the guy slipping in the juke, however you want to look at it, right? We talked about that back then. And then the big interception, the field goal, the kicker, man. Here's a guy who couldn't kick a damn ball for 2 months, and he makes like 5 of the greatest field goals in Notre Dame history in that playoff run.
Man, I could keep going about that because that kid got so much crap. The South Carolina Jeter got so much crap. I remember Notre Dame getting
injured. He was injured for crying out loud.
Notre Dame got their high school kicker commit, and everyone in the comments, can he play now? Can he play now? Can he play now? Kick rocks. I hope those people who talk shit about Jeter just,
real quick, I know, I mean, we've talked about this, but it's just when you look back, like the portal era, it started with the Jeter, obviously, right? The Jeter field goal, the sack by Oben, the pass from Riley to Bo, transfer. And then Harrison, which is funny. I got to find the clip because literally on our show a few weeks earlier, we were like, is he ever going to make a play this year? All it takes is one, man. And he is in Notre Dame lore for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one thing I want to bring up really quick about Jaden Harrison. We're running a little bit long. Okay. All right. So this was an article I did. Let me share my screen real quick. So Jaden Harrison commits. What sources are saying about new Notre Dame wide receiver transfer Jaden Harrison? I remember writing this article. I don't know about this 4.344 speed. What Harrison has done at Marshall will be similar to the role he'll have at Notre Dame. Make several explosive plays in the return game per year. I mean, but it was, I think what I wrote was quantity over no, it's not here. But the gist, I thought I used that exact term, but like a quantity is not going to be Jaden Harris's thing. Maybe I mentioned it somewhere in here, but it's going to be a quality. Like he is not going to make a ton of plays, but he's going to make some big plays. And that certainly ended up being true. All right, Tim, we're going to end the show. Tim.
Yeah, let's go.
Quick 3.5. So yeah, see you in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll do that Penn State thing. Penn State rewatch soon.
Nap
Really
it off.
appreciate you guys watching this week's show. Hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. If you listen to this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. Again, thank you for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you next time.